So I'm Jim from Peterborough Housing Co-operative. And so the Peterborough Housing Co-operative dates back to early 80s, about 81. Rod Donald was a mover in establishing it. There was an auction on a Friday night. I think he won the auction, and then he spent the weekend going around friends and getting the money. Interesting way to do it, but yeah, bought 5 sections together in Peterborough Street between Manchester and Madras. So he obviously had a dream of a cooperative future and an alternative, empowering society where you could be your own boss. Because of the nature of the houses, they needed to be fixed up. And so there was a lot of working bees, and they took the fences down between them. They were basically just a row of villas. So they opened up the backyard, so the backyard is shared. They're about 10 metres wide by 50 metres deep, so with 5 across, we're about 2,500 square metres like that. And I suppose because of the need to do the work, working bees were an integral part of the setup, and that's still today. The working bees is notionally part of the reduced rents. It's an intentional community, which means basically people intend to live together in a way. But it's short of a commune, so there are distinct households. So across those 5 sections, we're now 8 households, so a couple of those houses are two units, and we bought a duplex next door. So there's 8 households, about 20 people in total. So it's actually, the houses are all pretty much written off with the earthquake, so there's been the negotiation with the earthquake, getting the money for the rebuild, and in that, by taking our time over it, we've been able to get a much better payout, and it's now enabled us to look at the design of an ideal community. So we'll sort of come to that. If you can see that clear enough, 173 on the left, all original. It's not actually showing 175, but it is. Yeah, so the 183 on the right is newly added, since the earthquake a couple of years ago, and I'm in the back of that unit. The building at the rear there is like a common room and laundry and so on. And then after this was marked out, the section behind 183 that runs through to Salisbury Street has also been bought, so that's empty lot. So that's our development area now. But that's early 80s picture. A lot of these notes I've got were Tristan. He's been there sort of 20 years or so. Some of you know Tristan. And he had notes that the houses were quite run down, and when one person pulled their window out, the whole corner of the house fell over. So you can see working bees were a big part of it. They reoriented to the rear, so moved the living areas to face the rear of the section, put in the French doors. And as was pointed out, so there's quite a close connection with Pico. It's only a few blocks away, and it was the same trust. But as I say, and we've had plenty of people who work at Pico. So community life, shared. The way we operate at the moment is a shared meal weekly, working bees monthly, shared laundry. Take your turns doing the lawns. So just getting you an idea of how it operates, because I've actually been the fact that it's been running this long is now quite remarkable, because there's other ones that were set up that have kind of failed. You may be familiar with Hartwood, which is around the Chippenham community in Mansfield, and that's had some difficulties, but they ran much more like a commune where everyone's in together, whereas this is individual households. So within the house, you kind of get to run your own thing. And then the question is about scale and the interaction. Did you have a...
How do you own a house?
No, okay, so the structure is, it's all owned by a trust. It was the same trust that owned Pico. And we are tenants, but we're also our own landlords. So there's no private ownership. Yeah. Well, membership is a separate thing. So you technically you could, and obviously if the house comes up, then there's quite a selection process about how we get new members in. And that's, yeah, shared meals, that's in the backyard when the weather's nice. So yeah, Tristan's got lots of the good community pictures here. Yeah, he's observed in his time what a great environment it is for the kids, because they've got sort of multiple sort of adult sort of models, and they're just really sort of, you know, confident. It does seem to be a good environment for them. Having their own meetings. Yeah, movie night, workshop. So originally there was a little bit more of an emphasis on like enterprise. Enterprise was in sort of the charter. Now the enterprise is more off-site. So one of our members is an organic grower and selling at the markets. And there's quite an entrepreneurial spirit in there, but there's not sort of an enterprise sort of located, especially at the...
His enterprise.
That's right. Yeah. Although she has owned, has employed a number of other.
You guys all work and have jobs and pay rent?
Yeah, that's right. Here's a picture of Earth Song. Oh, sorry, we'll go back to that. There was a flash mob of Thriller at the Christmas party. Quite scary. So Earth, I think that's Earth Song, isn't it? There's, yeah. So that's purpose designed in West Auckland. So that's, you know, kind of a model in New Zealand for cooperative housing. This is post-earthquake, immediately post-earthquake. So one house was totaled, and now there's a tiny house on that section at the moment. These are examples in North America where the community is around a common space, and these are the sort of things we've been studying about with our rebuild. Here it's around a common pathway, because I think this is the interesting part of the what works and doesn't work with cooperative housing. That's Japan. So now Tristan's looking at our development process here. So at this point, it would actually be quite good if we get up the architects. So we spent a long time basically negotiating the insurance payout, and you know, consensus sort of decisions has stretched that out, but it's actually worked to our advantage, because, you know, the payout was 4 times what it would have been at the outset, and we've also taken a while to design what it is we're looking for, and in that there's been quite a lot of research about best practice for these sort of for what we're trying to do. So the movement kind of started in Denmark, and then we've been reading the books by Charles Durrett, who's been involved in 50 such purpose design communities in the United States. And so some principles that you're looking to do for these things is, we're basically, I say we're trying to make it personality proof. So at the moment we've got, you know, we're below critical mass, and it's relying on the fact that we're socially quite good and we get on. Personalities are working, not always, but if you get into the sort of 10 to 15 households, then you're getting to sort of critical mass for you don't have to get on with everyone. You're going to have some sort of friends, but then once you start getting over 15 households to more and more, then you won't function as a single community. You'll start to sort of be that's getting a bit big. So there's a sweet spot in that. And then in terms of the design, so this is working through the concept design that we've just got from the architect after we gave them the brief late last year. So it's got a bit of the architect design stuff where they're referencing the square of the workman's cottage that was originally on the site. Got a picture of Rod there, locating us in amongst the rubble of Christchurch. Locating us there, reference Margaret Mahi Playground, Pico, the Cardboard Cathedral, and that's the site we're looking at. And so Charles Durrett, the international expert, he looked at our site, and we'd sort of ended up in sort of like duplex notion, and he put us more into row housing. Because for density and economy and energy efficiency, and also just so that we could have the right connections.
How many stories was that?
This profile here is up to 3 stories on the Peterborough site. Just looking for something. Okay, that's probably a better way to look at where we're kind of up to. The architect, obviously, they want to, give you the whole lot, and they're suggesting, carports all along that long section. May or may not be, but it's more that we want to keep the development site tight. Bottom right is the common house. So we don't really have a really good functioning common house yet, but we're looking to put a commercial kitchen in there, and instead of weekly shared meals, we'll probably be looking to do, cooking for the whole community, where there's numbers of systems, but you put a token, you book ahead, and you're paying to have someone else cook for everyone most nights of the week. And so the common house will have space for everyone to eat there. It'll have the shared laundry in there, and the design is really to create the right level of sort of bumping into people-ness, and also the distances, the scale from private to semi-private to public and shared, and those distances are, they're common amongst people, I guess. So we'd say this is following the principles of this sort of intentional co-housing. We're now sort of looking at questions of matching up cost, really, because whether we need to make it more densely populated to increase the return to pay for it, because as the trust purpose is to promote co-housing, so that's kind of why I'm here, and it would be better if it was showing you a model that you could use to get into it, as opposed to first send someone back in history 30 years and buy some land really cheap, and then pay it off, and then you've got a multi-million-dollar asset that you can just squat on. So these are kind of the dilemmas, and so our situation is there is an asset base, and it's owned by the trust. There's no private ownership, but there are different models. Earthsong has private ownership in there. You've got unit titles, and I think that's kind of the other area where the conversation gets interesting. I think that might just be questions now. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that trust ownership? So the trust owns it, And how do you come in?
So we become members of the incorporated society. More to the point, we actually just become members of the community. So we've got trustees. We've got 2 independent trustees, and then the other 5 or 6 are residents as well. And that's where the governance works, which is obviously more of an issue now that we're in this phase. For the most part, the trustees sort of stuff is relatively dormant because things are pretty much run on the community meetings once a month about what are we going to do about the laundry, what are we going to do on working bee, that sort of stuff. But you have to we do externally reference rents. But, yeah. I think you were there. I think at the back, yeah? You were next? Yeah.
I'm not understanding yet how it works with membership. How does it work with the money? People wanting to live there, do they pay a certain amount to become a member?
No, they just pay rent. Yeah.
Cost structure, could you just elaborate on that?
So the tenancies are quite loose. I'm wanting to tighten that up a bit, but there's so the houses are mostly standalone households, and they will pay the rent to the trust, and then they run their household within that. But people who live in those houses must be members of the community, and that's not actually an official thing. It's just if you're going to do that, you have to be a member, which means that you do working bee and you follow you're part of the community. Is that?
So there's no trial membership or anything?
Yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. Yeah, if they're no good after 3 months, you can turf them out. But that's the thing, is it's such a small community. We have to be much more careful like that because we have to be, yeah.
So what happened? Like it originally got bought and put into a trust, and is everyone part owner of the trust asset, or how is it for people to come in and go again?
Just as tenants. But when they're there as tenants, they act as their own landlords, and then there are elected trustees, of which I'm one of 8.
So you don't really have any security of being there?
If we fell out, there are fallings out, then someone's going to have to go. Yeah. But it'd be on that basis rather than, yeah.
In terms of the new design, I mean, one of the things that I often think around housing, is it kind of created with differing kind of types of family in mind, right through from being able to provide for families with young children through to providing people into their old age?
So we've got about 13 units. The largest is 4 bedroom. There's 3 1 bedrooms and sort of scaled between, and two sort of wheelchair accessible ones. So we although we're not particularly ethnically diverse, we are, we're getting there with the sort of age thing because of how long it's been going, and it is the intention that we'd retain that. Yeah, so it's set up for people who want to live in community, and the purpose of the trust is to promote that kind of living, and then there's some other sort of things that fall off that, basically, along the cooperative ethos that we talked about generally. Can I just say one other thing is that in terms of scaling and getting the project built, we are talking with Habitat for Humanity as a possible partner for maybe contributing some of the capital and seeing how that works. But we want to make sure the buildings are to a decent standard, and that's kind of in the scheme. I think yeah. I'll give it to you after lunch. Yeah. You good? Okay, Bruce. Thanks.